Director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is making headlines and not for any of the right reasons. Now there's a latest rumor explaining why she is making those headlines because Disney and Lucasfilm want to save the budget for her upcoming Ray film. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Joining me to discuss this new rumor is Nick from Echo Base Network. Good to see you, sir.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. And we have this article here from thatparkplace.com. This is based on a rumor from WDW Pro. And what he had to say, this is what he said. It looks like, according to the source, that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is being very public and positioning this as she is a woman of color. It's time for her to be in charge, that she's being so forthright in this kind of DEI language in order to protect the film from being cut even more drastically. He said, and what is being alleged is that the Walt Disney Company, although I cannot prove this independently, that the Walt Disney Company, many of the higher ups are extremely squeamish, and squeamish is the word that was sent my way in regards to the visibility of this film. They're quite nervous. So what do you make of this?
More of the same from Disney Star Wars. I mean, they've been playing this game since pretty much when they bought Star Wars, and since the first film came out in 2015. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's been saying this sort of stuff, the force is female, force for change, all the women lead actors always talking about the women directors, the writers, how the story group is like, 75% women, and all this stuff. It's been like this for a long time. And it's as long as it's under the control of Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and all them, I don't see it ever changing. This is just more of the same. None of this is surprising to me. They love that sweet DEI cash that they probably get on the side from investors or whatnot. But as far as execs talking about being squeamish, I mean, who wouldn't be squeamish? I mean, you're literally destroying an IP that could literally print them money. It is free money. They got a golden goose, and they're just crapping all over it. And that's the road they want to take, and they'll, I guess, just keep learning the hard way. And once this thing drops, if it drops, because I'm in the camp of until I see set shots or leaked images of the filming and all that, and know that it's actually in production being filmed, I don't hardly buy into any project that they announce. So who knows if this thing will actually get made? Knowing Disney, more than likely they are really probably going to push this thing. But for this to be the first movie out, in theaters since the rise of Soy Walker, this thing's going to flop so hard it's going to be laughable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that point, but I did want to kind of go back to this here because usually when we're seeing their like woke talking points, the messaging that they're the force is female messaging and all that stuff, it's usually directed externally, right? It's directed at us, pushed towards like the audience and everything like that. While this looks like it's more directed internally, so the rumor is basically she's going out here saying all of these things here, like she's doing her New Year's Eve special. She's telling CNN, I'm very thrilled about the project because let's just listen to what she had to say here instead of me just reading it, right? We can just listen.
The first woman and the first person of color to direct a Star Wars film. It's set to be released in 2026. You can say that the force is strong with this one. Here's Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy.
I'm very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special. And we're in 2024 now. And I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
So that's what she's been saying most recently. She's said a bunch of other things in the past. But obviously that still is external. But what we're hearing is that the rumor is the reason why she's saying all of these things is external is so that she can save her budget internally. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they're using the identity politics internally now to try and save their projects. Is that something that surprises you, or what do you make of that?
That doesn't really surprise me either, because if she's having to do this, to save her budget internally, I mean, that just shows not only is she, pandering to her activism and all the people that are on her side of that activism, she's pandering to the people who are in charge of controlling the budget of the film. So if she's having to do this, then obviously they fall on that side too. It just adds up, to what she's doing here. So yeah, it's more the same. It's the same on both sides, internally, externally, executives, whatever. It's a woke mess over there.
One of the things that I think you brought up a little bit earlier was the fact that you're not surprised that these executives would be squeamish, given the fact that we've seen what they've done throughout with Disney Star Wars over the past half decade or so. I guess we're closing in on a decade now. It's 2024 already, right? So obviously massive declines in the sequel trilogy. Movie over movie, we saw Solo lose money, and then we're seeing other films that maybe they're not Star Wars films, but they're still kind of embracing the same feminist ideology. Movies like the Marvels, where they haven't even done $200 million at the box office. I think if we scroll down here, you see here it's only done 84.4 million domestic box office, 115.4 million internationally, for a total of 199.9 million. Huge money loss here. Do you think that this is a film that is actually playing into what these Disney executives are feeling?
I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, if you produce something like this and then you're trying to do the same thing with Star Wars, why are you going to expect a different result? I mean, the writing's on the wall here. The audience doesn't want to pay for your messaging and pandering to your activism and all that sort of stuff, and wham power and all that. It's just not. They're wasting their time, they're wasting their money, they're wasting the audience's time and their money, the people that actually pay to go see this. It's a complete joke. It is a complete joke. So sad.
One of the other things that I didn't include in this article, but it just kind of came to me, is the fact that you do also have this proxy battle happening between Nelson Peltz and Bob Iger and his camps. And one of the things that Nelson Peltz did say last year, almost a year ago, when he initially kind of started his proxy battle, was that one of the major problems that the Walt Disney Company had was its creative engine. Do you think that maybe this rumor is maybe referring to Peltz's battle, and that Iger is actually having to deal with that because they have to keep those budgets down? And one of the ways they can kind of fight that is through the DEI talking points and everything like that, because Peltz is kind of applying that pressure. And we've seen Bob Iger talk about how they're going to be cutting down budgets, cutting back the number of films they're going to be making, and TV shows as well. He said that throughout the entire course of 2023.
Yeah, that's definitely a strong possibility for sure. But who knows? I don't know the internal workings over there at Disney. And a lot of this stuff is very speculative. But it makes sense. I could totally see that being the case. I mean, he did say that like you said, that they're going to be cutting back on projects, budgets, all that sort of thing. And they need to. I mean, the creator got made for less than $100 million.
Godzilla minus one was less than 15 million.
Yeah. Another perfect example. So the thing is, you can make good quality content for a low budget and get a very nice return on it. But it all comes down to the story and the characters and that sort of thing. These big, huge budgets of, $300 million plus and all this, with all these crazy special effects and dumping all this money into it, that's not going to get you a huge return. Especially when your story is crap, your characters are crap. I've talked about this for a long time. The studio budgets for movies nowadays is insane what they spend to make a movie. You can do it for way, way less and it be just as good. But that's the state of Hollywood these days, is these over, huge budgets. It's crazy.
Yeah, indeed. I definitely think that's something they need to rein in. We'll see whether or not that actually helps with their story process. If they're limited on resources, sometimes that can
Yeah.
help. But I think they have bigger problems over there at all of the Walt Disney Company subsidiaries, including Lucasfilm. What do you see for the future in Star Wars just moving forward? Obviously, looks like they're going to be closing out their High Republic stuff. I saw something from Charles Soule on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's finally, like, they're wrapping that up. They still have the Acolyte coming out, and then obviously this film is slated to go into production in the United Kingdom in April, according to a listing from the Film and Television Alliance. So where do you really see their future? Because it doesn't really look too bright. Again, like I said, the High Republic looks like it was a failure, and they're finally finishing
Yeah.
it. The Acolyte might be the like, that's their live action High Republic stuff.
Mhm.
It's going to be
Yeah.
like, okay, we're killing it off, and then they're going back to their disaster of a sequel trilogy with this Rey movie.
Yeah. Well, and I don't understand why. Why are you going back to a failed character that nobody likes? And when I say nobody, of course, there's people out there that like Rey as a character, but the numbers are so small. It doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint. And we got the Skeleton Crew coming out, which is basically adventures in babysitting in space. From the sound of it, the Acolyte is just going to be another woke feminist garbage mess that's going to just turn people off. We're gonna have fun with that one on the channel for sure. I'm gonna love destroying each and every episode of that. It's gonna be fun. We might turn into a drinking game or something. Who knows? But that's gonna be a fun one. And then you got Bad Batch season 3, which I will say that there was a 1 or 2 episodes of Bad Batch season 2, and I'm not a fan of the Bad Batch at all, but it was some of the best Star Wars writing I've seen yet from Disney. It was 10 out of 10 for me on this episode. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was a whole episode about Crosshair, and it was so well done. And I'm like, why can't we get this kind of storytelling in all of Star Wars? But you have those one-offs like that, here and there. Rogue One, could kind of be considered, one of those one-offs. Mando, a lot of the episodes in Mando season 1 and 2 could be considered that. But yeah, the future is not very bright. I just, even from our own audience, that there's nobody that's really getting behind all these projects that are just getting excited, like, oh my God, I can't wait. When Star Wars was an event, and when they would release stuff and stuff would get announced, everybody would be going crazy, going nuts, putting on costumes, all that. It's not anywhere even close to that anymore. And it's just the sad state of Star Wars under Disney.
Yeah, I remember even after The Force Awakens, like, I didn't really find it that great. I thought it was very derivative
Yeah.
of A New Hope. But I remember just people were still having you had, like, tons of fan theories, and that was kind of what the internet culture was around Star Wars, was all the fan theories on who Rey is, who's
And
her
that's part of the
dad.
fun part of it, of
Yeah.
leading up to it,
Yeah, and then we got The Last Jedi, and it completely, like, destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So I definitely get where you're coming from there. And I feel like a lot of the stuff now, when you do see that stuff, it feels like it's like almost like an AstroTurf. Those people they don't really enjoy it. They're doing it because, like, Disney's paying them to do it, I feel like, on at least some level. So yeah, I definitely feel like the state of Star Wars has definitely declined. You can look at the numbers, you can look at the viewership. Ahsoka had worse viewership than Mando season 3 finale, had worse viewership than the Andor finale, and that was the most recent show. People were tuning out. I think 33 or around, like, a third of people tuned out, didn't finish the entire show that had tuned in from the premiere, at least in the U.S., based on Samba TV records. So I mean, any metric you look at, it's in decline. And their solution is Dave Filoni, who's kind of been part of the decline, and going back to Ray, which is decline. What is the term I'm looking for? Like ground zero.
Yeah, yeah, a bottom of the barrel. Like it just again, it just doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, we've even seen that in our own community on our channel of people that are diehard Star Wars fans that were even still holding on to hope even after we had pretty much lost all hope. And after Ahsoka, we then had those people saying, I'm just done. I'm done with Disney Star Wars after this. It's just it's like when you were a kid and you go to the store and you go to the cereal aisle and you're like, oh, Mom, I want this Captain Crunch, or Frosted Flakes, with Tony the Tiger on it. She's like, we can't get that. We'll get this Sugar Flakes, by some off brand that you've never heard of. It was like the
Store
generic brand, the
Yeah.
store brand. That's basically Disney Star Wars, the store brand. It's cheap and it's terrible. It's not anywhere near what George Lucas created. I don't feel like they've honored what has come before it. They're just trying to do their own thing and push their messaging and get that sweet DEI cash from BlackRock or Vanguard or wherever it's coming from.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's something that they're beholden to. I honestly feel like it's not even, it's a little bit more than that too. I feel like the whole company is actually ideological, and a lot of the people in charge
Oh,
of it
yeah.
are indeed ideological. So even if they get the financial incentive from those financial institutions, they would be doing it anyways because they're so ideological in it. And it looks like this Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy woman is exactly that as well. I mean, we're finding more and more clips about her almost every single day of things she said in the past. I think I just saw a clip that Star Wars girl shared of her saying that literally everything she does, she injects her activism into it. And so one can extrapolate from that. That's exactly what she's going to do with Star Wars. And I think that that's the reason why she was hired in the first place, is so she
100%.
can push this Forces female agenda.
Yeah, definitely. And they always do. I don't know why they do this, but how many times have we heard since Disney bought Star Wars? This is the first female director. This is the first female writer. This is the first female showrunner. Whatever. Here we are again with another first female director shaping a Star Wars story. It's been going on the whole time. What are you talking about? You're the first one. You're not the first one. It's been going on the whole entire time.
Yeah, it's like Kathleen Kennedy doesn't exist, and she's actually been in charge the entire time. It's kind of bizarre, right? It's like, how can you even say this? Like, it's time a female finally shaped Star Wars, and it's like, you do know who's the president of Lucasfilm right now, right? Like, what are you talking about?
What are you guys talking about exactly? In her that dumb comment that she made of it's time for a woman to finally shape a story in the galaxy far, far away. Marsha Lucas shaped the original trilogy. She saved the first Star Wars movie in the editing room. She shaped that movie. You want to talk about first? She was the very first. Why are they not ever talking about her? She's not even included in that interview that she did on that docuseries she did for Vice. What was it? Icons Unearthed, I believe. She literally said, "Kathy, call me. I can do Star Wars." She understands it. Has she been?
She's not going to get called.
Yeah. She's a woman. Is she being included at all? No. And she's won awards for her work on Star Wars.
Yeah, she won an Academy Award.
Yeah. So, this whole woman thing, it's only the women that are on their side of their messaging and agenda. All other women don't matter. I guarantee you, Anna, that Star Wars girl, they're not going to be going to her for advice, and they would, rather see her burn than to have her be, a factor of trying to make things better over there.
Yeah, we saw what they did with Gina Carano. I mean, they tried to get her into a struggle session where she had to like apologize for speaking the truth. I mean, absolutely sick and disgusting how they operate over there. So they're ideologically aligned. But just last thoughts. What do you think that this Sharmeen, if this movie does indeed get made, like, do you think it performs worse than the Marvels?
Oh yeah. So we were talking about this in our live stream last night. We had WDW Pro on as a special guest last night, and we were talking about this. And my initial thoughts on it, I was thinking sub 300 million, probably do like maybe 280 at the top range. But after discussing it with everybody on the panel last night and really thinking about it and looking at other similar movies, man, I'm thinking more down around like the 200 range. And that's worldwide for its entire run. Has the Marvels even crossed 200 yet?
It depends on what you look at. The numbers has it as just at 199.9 million. I think if you go to Box Office Mojo, it's a little bit over 200 million. So it's right around there. It's really close, or it's just above it.
Yeah,
So
I'm guessing it's gonna do probably around the same numbers as that. Maybe a tad bit more just because it's Star Wars, and there are those fans out there that you could just throw the Star Wars label on anything and they'll just eat it up no matter how terrible it is. Those fans do exist out there. So maybe a little bit more than that, but not much. I don't see this thing breaking 300 for sure.
yeah, I'm right there with you.
Universe at all.
I'm right there with you. I think that this would be the worst performing Star Wars film ever created. It would perform worse than Solo. I don't have the numbers for Solo in front of me, but
Solo
I know
was 393, I believe.
Yeah,
like
so
right
definitely
under
would.
400 million.
Yeah, I definitely think it would perform worse than that. I just don't think this is the right direction for Star Wars, and I don't really think that I think we're kind of in agreement with this. I don't think that Star Wars can really have any kind of revitalization or rejuvenation under current leadership. I think they need to be completely gutted, and I think Nelson Peltz agrees with me as well. He's made that clear that their creative engine is struggling, and I think that really comes from leadership at the top.
Yeah, and I actually tweeted Elon Musk yesterday saying, "Hey, are you gonna get on board with Nelson Peltz and try to help take over Disney and fix things over there?" I would love to see freaking Elon throw his money in the ring on Peltz's side and kind of force Bob Iger's power to kind of go down, take a couple steps down the ladder. But I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother situation. And we'll just see what happens with that over time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Indeed, it is another conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today, Nick. I'm really glad to get your perspective on what's happening here with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy and Star Wars. So we'll definitely have you back on sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.